could find for this special occasion. At Sarah's Florist, they had great service, and we were overwhelmed by how beautiful the flowers were. Learn more about how to make all your events memorable by visiting sarahsflorist.com or by calling 281-497-5533. That's 281-497-5533. Again, 281-497-5533.
The U.S. Daily Review is a news website with a unique angle. Personal. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't be analytical, factual, and authoritative, but what it does mean is that people are going to be able to express themselves in a blogging tradition. The best articles will be showcased on the Price of Business show on KNTH in Houston, Texas. For more information, send an email to info@usdailyreview.com. That's info@usdailyreview.com.
Summer is hot in Houston, and I don't want you to make the mistake I made. After months of not being used, I turned my AC on without inspection, and it wouldn't work. Fortunately, Mark Rendon and his team from DesignAirHouston.com came to the rescue. They were friendly, affordable, and fast. Call Design Air today to avoid AC problems or to solve them quickly at 281-469-6048, 281-469-6048. Again, 281-469-6048. Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. All right, I got Curtis Dubé with me here. He's with the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., one of my favorite think tanks. As you know, we often get people on from the Heritage Foundation to tell us what's going on and what we need to be aware of. The president is walking around telling people that he's reducing taxes for corporations, but at the same time, he's going to dramatically eliminate some of the tax breaks, which I'm going to bet is going to end up having those corporations pay higher taxes than they are now. Curtis, welcome to the program, and your thoughts on that.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think your instinct is right on. The president got the headlines he wanted, which were that President Obama proposes tax rate cut or tax cut for corporations. I think a lot of people understand now that we desperately need a rate cut because we have the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. However, that doesn't fully encapsulate the plan that he put forward. Yes, he lowered the rate from 35% to 28%, but the international average is 25%. So we're still above that, and we're still well above that when you add on the rate that the states add on. So we need an even further rate cut. But all the other changes that the president makes actually move the tax code in a worse position. So if his plan was implemented by Congress, we'd be in worse shape than we are today.
Yeah. By the way, I noticed you've been on the Ed Show before, which means you've got obviously a lot of intestinal fortitude there on MSNBC. But I gotta ask this question. I've been asking this more and more of fiscal conservatives. Why are conservatives still advocating any tax at all on corporations when corporations don't pay taxes? It's a fixed cost for doing business, and the higher that fixed cost is, the more likely those businesses are going to move to other parts of the world, which is exactly what's happened over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's something we always have to point out, that corporations don't pay taxes, people pay taxes. So when you tax a corporation, you're taxing either their shareholders, who are their stockholders, who are people, you're taxing their employees, who are people, or you're taxing their customers, who are people. I think what we're seeing, though, is that the realization that right now we're working within the confines of the current system, which is we have an individual income tax system, we have a corporate tax system, and we have everything that goes along with that. If we're going to undergo a true fundamental reform of the tax code, which might require a repeal of the 16th Amendment, then we could start talking about maybe not taxing corporations at the corporation level. But for right now, we have to stick with what we have.
Yeah, my understanding is the 16th Amendment, which one of the great disastrous amendments of the progressive era, that amendment gives the government permission, but it doesn't require them to have income tax.
Exactly, but if they have the power, they're going to use it.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're probably right about that. That seems to be the nature of the beast. So the idea is to try to have at least a more competitive. I mean, people need to look at it in a very similar way as to why you shop at certain places, and price is a factor. Well, businesses operate in the same terms as to where they locate their businesses.
Yeah, and right now our corporate income tax is driving people to locate their businesses in other locales. Again, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the entire industrialized world, so it's often more profitable for businesses to locate new operations in more competitive countries with lower rates.
Okay, so what should the GOP House be doing with these proposals that are coming from the administration?
Well, they should disregard them. first and foremost. But they should recognize the benefit of this is that the president now is on record being for a corporate tax rate cut. So they should take that and put forward their own plan. So put forward their own plan that lowers the rate far enough to get us back competitive with international standards and doesn't make all the mistakes that the president does with his changes to the international tax system and some other changes that would be very harmful to the economy.
Curtis, let me ask you, when it comes to the president's proposal, factoring in the fact that you're going to eliminate loopholes and that type of thing, how competitive would our tax rate be compared to the rest of the industrialized world?
If we went with the president's plan, or
with the president's plan,
it wouldn't be. It would right now. So if you add on what states add on, we'd be at 33%. That's still well above the international average of 25%. So we need to come down just to get down to that international average. When you calculate what the states put on top of the federal rate, you have to get down to 20%. So it's really not moving the ball very far forward.
Yeah, and people don't factor that in. Every country has multiple levels of government, but very few has four, which we have. We got federal, state, county, and city in many cases, and so those are multi-layered tax burdens.
Oh, absolutely, and they do all count, and so they shouldn't be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting argument there. Obviously going to fall upon deaf ears on this administration. What kind of thing then, therefore, and people are very upset with the House. The House has lower approval ratings than the president, which is largely, I think, media-driven, even though I have some criticisms of the GOP-led House. But the House really has this work cut out for it.
Yeah, they can't pass laws, or they can't pass bills into law on their own. They need cooperation from the Senate and the president, and obviously they're not going to get that. So they just have to keep putting forward advancing ideas, keep passing bills that would make the tax code better, that would improve economic performance, and force the Senate and the president to act or not to act, and put them on record as being against those things that would be beneficial.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the president continues to act like an autocrat and does things with executive orders that no one ever dreamt of before.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the power of the presidency is vast. It's greater than we ever anticipated when from the founding of the Constitution. So that is a problem, but that's a bigger problem than just this president. But I mean, obviously, you still need Congress to make sweeping big changes. Remember, Congress went along with Obamacare and Dodd-Frank.
Yeah, no question about it, both of which are going to have a crippling effect on the economy. As Christopher Dodd said, we don't even know what this Dodd-Frank is going to do. I said, as he was weeping with joy over passing it, we're not even sure what this is going to do. Wouldn't it be smart to at least have a little bit of an idea what a policy is going to do before you pass it?
Well, ideally that would be the case, but that's not really how things work here in Washington these days. The Dodd-Frank legislation could prove to be ultimately as harmful to the economy as Obamacare, because again, we really don't know what it's going to do, and we don't know what the Consumer Financial Protection Board is going to do. That board that the president illegally appointed the head to a few weeks ago, and now it's up and running. They're taking a very expansive view of their power, saying that they can regulate things that we didn't really anticipate they were going to regulate to begin with. So there's an awful lot of power being concentrated here in Washington, and a lot of things that are happening that I don't think our founders ever anticipated at founding, like the president declaring when Congress is in recess, rather than Congress declaring when Congress is in recess.
I declare you. Yeah, I like that. That's true. All right, Curtis Dubé is his name, and he is with the Heritage Foundation. You can learn more about them at heritage.org. That's heritage.org. He's a senior policy analyst in tax policy. Thanks for being with us.
No problem. Glad to be here.
You bet. When we come back, we're going to have much, much more for you. But don't forget, this show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. Great audio, video, articles, and more. So make sure you check that out. I am Kevin Price. This is The Price of Business.
We want you to know that the old methods to get new clients do not work. According to recent studies, business owners are